There is a list of all this information that takes you through the opening and closing. I mentioned covenants earlier, and that we don't write a covenant with this age group, preschool through first grade. This is basically your covenant right here. These 4 pictures: keep your body calm, keep your eyes watching, keep your ears listening, and keep your voice quiet. So obviously we're going to be working with kids who don't necessarily read yet. So it's nice to have these visuals here. Because we share this space with the nursery school, this isn't going to always be out there, so it will need to come out each weekend. The Saturday teachers mostly will be responsible for that, I guess. This is our first year using these. Actually stole an idea from the nursery school because they use these, and I thought, oh, that makes total sense, we should be doing that. So each of you will have some different kind of display, but just look for these in your closet.
In the closet.
Yeah. And then your opening words are over there. I'm going to have to bring that part so I can see it more. Okay. Okay, and then, so on the first day of class, definitely go over these pictures and talk about how that's how we're going to be in community together so that we can be respectful of each other and whatnot. And have it out and visible so that you can refer to it whenever you need to remind people that we're going to keep our bodies calm and not, constantly poking at each other. Okay? So, everyone comes in, we're in our circle now. This is a good time to introduce your parent helper to the group. It's also a good time to welcome any visiting kids. And then you can move on to your opening words. And for this age group, we use these very handy battery-operated candles, which are just great. Typically what we do is we have whoever is the child of the parent helper light the candle for that day, and it's sort of an exciting thing for them. So if you want to keep track of who's had a chance to do that and who hasn't, you can just put a little C next to their name on the attendance sheet, so that by the end of the semester you know that everyone's had a chance to do that. Who wants to. Everyone who wants to. So you ask them to light the chalice. Joan, would you mind lighting the chalice today?
Okay, so
you just push it in.
Okay.
Okay. And then that goes into the center on your chalice. And then together, we're going to read the opening words. Now obviously, those of you with 3 and 4-year-olds in particular, you're going to have to teach them these words. And we keep it pretty simple so that they can learn them. And they can just follow along as best as possible. But even if they can't say the words exactly right each week, that's fine. It's still an important part of the ritual, and we're still going to do that. And the adults will just have to lead the way. So, our words are, you probably can't see this, but we do little hand gestures with it. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the loving heart. This is the church of the helping hands. This is the church. Okay. Well, whatever order. That's it. Okay? Yeah.
What time are they meeting back in the main room?
They are meeting back in the main room in about 20 minutes.
Good, thanks.
Okay? Does that give you enough?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And then you have, so you've done your opening words, and then you have, oh, I forgot about the chime. Sorry. We're doing a little reverse here. Everyone is sitting in a circle. You've welcomed your people, and then you ring your bell or your chime. And you could ask a child to do this if you want, or you could do it yourself. And then everyone is asked to be quiet until they can't hear the sound any longer. So it's really quiet until you can't hear the sound. You could ask them to close their eyes if you wanted to. The chimes actually work better. I think I may do away with the bells this year. Never been particularly fond of the bells. So you'll probably have a chime in your container. And that's a really great way to kind of bring everyone's focus here, calm bodies, get everyone just sort of on the same level energy field, I guess. Then you do your chalice lighting. Okay. So now you have a choice of doing either joys or sorrows, or doing a check-in question. They each have their little stone, right? And you can either invite them to share something really happy from the past week or something that was sad. So happy, maybe they got to have a friend sleep over last night or something like that. Sad, maybe their goldfish died or something like that. Or you can give them a specific check-in question like, what's your favorite color? Or what's your favorite animal? Or what's your favorite activity to do outside of church? Something like that. Anything that you want to come up with. And whether you do one or the other should totally be up to like the community lead, whatever that person wants to do. It doesn't have to be the same thing week after week, okay? So this is maybe one of the more challenging parts of the class because, as you can probably imagine, it's really easy for kids to go off on a tangent. Like, oh, well, my favorite animal is dog, and like 5 years ago we got this dog, and it was brown and it was really fuzzy, and they go on and on and on and on. They want to tell you all about their whole life history, and this is where a little reining in might be needed, and it's fine to say, I'm really glad you want to share that with us, Karen, but we want to make sure that everyone has a chance to share their favorite fill in the blank. So why don't we talk about that later during snack time or something like that, okay? So we're going to do a little practice here. We're going to go around, we're going to put our stone in, and I'm going to give you a check-in question. And your check-in question is, what's something that you're really looking forward to about teaching this year? And kids always have the option to pass, although at this age, they seldom do.
So we take it and then we put it in as we
Well,
say.
you got one on your way in.
Oh, okay.
Right, I checked in, so we're going to pretend that you have one because I didn't give you.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that we're going to start out with good weather. I'm thankful for that. So that's going to be nice for going outside. Did you say current or projecting? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
I am looking forward to using this as an opportunity to get to know some people more, both on my teaching team and in the greater teaching room, and some parents, hopefully.
Okay. And also, I neglected to say this.
Oh, my name is Megan,
Yes.
and I'm not 6.
I'm Hillary, and I actually sort of volunteered for the same reason as Megan. We're newer to FUS, so looking forward to just getting to know more people.
I'm Karen, and I'm looking forward to spending time with kids, because kids are my joy.
I'm Siggy, and I'm excited to try teaching, especially with kids.
It's your first foray?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Jen, and I am also new to FS and new to teaching, and I have to say I was doing a little internal jig as you've been talking all morning, because I think, I had hopes coming in and everything's so aligned with what I was hoping to hear, just about how the religious ed is. So I'm excited to be part of it and just sort of happy with what I'm hearing.
Good.
And I'm Sarah, and I'm just looking forward to getting to know some more parents and teachers and spending time with the kids. Like my other daughter's been in for a little while, and so I think it's really been a parent helper, and it's sort of amusing to be with the little kids sometimes. So
That's okay, Sarah. My name is Claire, and I'm just delighted to finally be in this role. I've tried a couple times and couldn't do it, so and I love kids, and maybe I'll just keep going up the ladder, who knows.
That would be very cool.
I'm Celia. I kind of want to build my confidence, and also I'm happy that I'll physically be here at church, and it just seems like a fun thing to do. I don't know.
I'm Colleen, and actually one of the things I'm looking forward to is this particular part of teaching, because I just get to charge out of what 3 and 4-year-olds have to say.
It is entertaining. And I'm Leslie, and I'm looking forward to returning teachers and getting to work with them again, and all the new teachers that are coming on board this year. It's really great, and as much as possible, I try to connect with you guys, but sometimes it's hard during services because there's so much going on. So we won't feel neglected. I do like to make a personal connection with all of the teachers. So, and I should have mentioned to the last group, I'll mention it now. I stop in classes because it's really helpful for me to see. It's hard to plan a program if you don't see it in action, right? So it's really helpful for me to be able to observe what's going on. I hope it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable. I don't want it to feel like the principal's coming along, because it's not like that at all. It's fun. It reminds me of why I love to do this work. So don't be nervous if you see me show up in your classroom and think that there's something.
How long are you going to stay, Leslie?
I don't know.
It's really fun.
Honestly, usually during services, I feel pulled in many different directions, so probably not for very long. Okay, so then at this point in your opening, you'll let the kids know what you're going to be doing that day. For the older kids, the K1 kids who have more reading skills, you might want to write out a little list of what you're going to be doing when, because like adults, they like to know what to expect. If you can do that with a visual image with the younger kids, with some sort of symbols that they can interpret, that's great. It's nice to know what's going to happen when, right? So at this point, it's good to just give them a rundown on what to expect for your time together that day. And it's not, Deb probably mentioned that it's not unusual that particularly with this age group, if you're done with class early, to go out on the playground when the weather's appropriate. So yeah, that's totally fine. And then you go off and you do your activities for the day, and you're having fun and you're reading stories. And lots of times in your curriculum, so you guys have treasure hunting and chalice children, neither of which has been written in-house here, but for both of your curricula, I went through those in a fair amount of detail a couple years ago. And so in your curriculum binder, you'll see at the beginning that there are some notes that I put together, some sort of big picture notes about your curriculum, and then in front of each lesson, there's different colored paper. It looks like it's salmon colored. In yellow, salmon for chalice children, and yellow for treasure hunting, right? Is that what you're teaching, Celia?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that might be the division. I'm not positive about that. But those are changes that I've made to the curriculum, or suggestions, or some of the activities that have been written. Just, we either can't get the supplies anymore, they seem really kind of boring to me, or so I've done some tweaking along the way. You want to be sure that you read those notes for each lesson that you're going to be teaching, because what is supplied to you is going to be dependent on whatever was written to you. Okay. So then you go off and you do your activities and you're having fun. And the other thing I was going to mention is they have story time in the intergenerational message. There's usually a story at some point in your lesson. Some of these curricula work in 2 stories. That's a little story overload. So we typically just do 1 story during class time, and then they have 1 story in the auditorium. There are classes who love stories, and if your kids love stories and you think that it would be totally fine to share another story, and there's a book available in your curriculum box or library or whatever, you want to bring something in, go for it. But we don't expect you to do more than 1 story. So, and also, because these kids can be a little squirmy, it's fine to say, if you're sensing that people are getting really restless, stand up, do jumping jacks, do a little movement interlude there, and then go back to your activity. That's fine. Okay, so now it's time for your closing, and this is when it's really helpful to have a community lead who's paying attention to the timing, because it can be easy to get kind of wrapped up in your activities, and then you realize, oh my gosh, you didn't have time for the closing. Right? So if you have the community lead who's kind of paying attention to that, the community lead can kind of give the curriculum lead a little nudge and say, hey, we got to get moving on here so that we have time to do our closing, because I really don't want the closings to get lost in the shuffle. Yeah.
So do we close at the time service is supposed to end?
You close about No, because service ends about 20 minutes before class ends. Classes end on Saturdays, they end at 6 o'clock. The 9 o'clock service classes end at 10:30, and the 11 o'clock service classes end at 12:30. So parents typically have time to have coffee and fellowship before coming to pick up their kids. So the intergenerational message usually goes about half an hour. So you have about an hour with your kids each week. I'm glad you brought that up. So you're going to want to stop doing what you're doing at about 5 minutes before they will be leaving. It doesn't take terribly long to do closings, but you might, I'd say 5 to 10 minutes. If you want to engage the kids in cleaning up whatever activity that you've been doing, that's a really nice way of teaching them to take a little responsibility for what happens during your time together. So you can allow time for that. And then come back to your circle for your closing. And this is a time when it's good to ask a few questions. So, usually we'll do like a little summary of, so today we talked about the importance of sharing. What was your favorite thing about what we did today? And you can give people a chance to share what their favorite thing was for that day. And then, as much as possible, I like to tie it back into who we are as a UU community. So ask them a question of, why do you think it's important that we talk about this, as Unitarian Universalists? Why is that important? Well, it's important for us to be kind to each other, and so this is one way that we learn how to be kind to each other, whatever that particular lesson would call for. But it's nice to have an opportunity to tie it back to who we are and what we are about as Unitarian Universalists.
So you're not assuming the kids would answer that?
No, I would give them a chance to answer that.
3 and 4-year-olds?
Well, probably not that.
Okay,
Probably
thank you.
I try.
But they don't touch it, especially a little later in the year, they might have some ideas.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah. I would always give them the chance, and if they don't step into that space, then fill it. Okay. And then we do our closing reading together. And for this, we flip the sign. Each of you has one of these signs in your closet. And it's nice to hold a hand with the person next to you. And then together we read, while we are apart, may we be good friends to all we meet. May we remember the things we learned and did together. And may we know peace. Go now in peace. And then squeeze hands. And and that's the closing. And then you can ask the person who lit the cellos to turn it on. And then they go off. The thing about in this classroom, we want parents to come and pick up their kids. We don't just send them off. So there should be somebody at the door who's signing out the kids as they leave so that we're not losing track of any kids. This is true also if you're out on the playground. That's when it gets a little tricky. So somebody has to be paying attention to who's leaving when. I think there's only been one time when we sort of lost track of a kid, and we don't want that to ever happen again. So there should be someone who's just keeping track of kids as they leave and signing them out. And the way that we do that, does anyone have a pen? Yeah. So, if you just do like a regular check, when people come in, and then you can just X it out. It was a check. Just X it out to indicate that they have left with a parent.
And are parents taught that they need
Yeah,
to
so it's
Yes.
check in with the teacher before they take their kid?
They are told that. Some of them forget.
Okay.
So feel free to remind them. Feel free to remind them. We ask that teachers, did I mention the weekly emails in there? Okay. So that's a really good opportunity to remind parents to make sure to let a teacher know that they're leaving with their child. Okay.
Quick question. The week that you are teaching, do you generally completely skip going to service and just come to the classroom and get
Yeah.
stuff situated and do both the curriculum leader and the community leader do that, or what have you seen? Or just a parent helper come in, sort of what have you seen?
Yeah, that's a good question. Typically, the parent helper doesn't show up until the kids come, although if you would like for them to show up sooner, that's a good thing to include in the email and decide as a team that you're going to ask them to show up at a different time. Typically, the curriculum lead will come here and make sure that everything is set up, that you have all the art supplies. We do a lot of art activities in these younger classes. But just that you have everything that you need. I think it's really nice for the community lead to come and check in and see if the curriculum lead needs help with anything. If not, then it's fine to go into service with your kids or not with kids. But it's nice to have that extra help if you need it.
So if we come along with our kids, how do we
Yeah.
navigate that? Like sending them into
Yeah, usually on those days, kids just stay with their parents.
So if we were coming to set up a classroom,
Yeah, they would just kind of
they
hang
would
out
just
with
come
you.
with me. Okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Or if you know someone else who is here with kids, and you can ask if your kids could go to service with them. Yeah. And the first day gets a little confusing because there's a lot of new families and people don't quite know where to go. So I'm sure that you will see parents, I hope that you will see parents walking their kids down to the classroom. I'll talk a little bit about that before we leave. And the other thing that I should mention is that parents are always invited to stay if they want to. And this is probably particularly important with the age groups that you're going to be working with because there's more anxiety about having mom or dad not there. So they're always welcome to stay. Those of you who are parents may know that from your experiences as parents. So yeah, you may have a lot of bodies in your classroom. And speaking of a lot of bodies, the other thing to know is that attendance will probably never be higher than it is on the first day of class. And that can be a little overwhelming because it's a lot of kids, but I can assure you that attendance will trickle off, yes. And not because it's a bad class, but because there's so many things happening in people's families and kids get sick and all kinds of stuff. And then January comes around and then everyone's back. They're like, New Year's resolution, we're going to go to church more regularly. And that can be overwhelming again, and then things trickle off. So don't get overwhelmed. For better or for worse, it will get easier to manage the classroom size. Taking attendance is really important, not only so that we can kind of keep track of that piece of data, but also a lot of our classes end up with waiting lists. And what I'll do in October, late October, is if we have kids on a waiting list for your particular class, I'll see what your actual attendance rates are versus your enrollment. And if it looks like it would be a bad thing to add another child to your class, then I'll send your teaching team an email asking how you feel about it. And be honest, if you feel like, no, I'm at capacity, I don't want another kid in the class, say so.
What is the usual capacity?
For children, enrollment is at 15, and for treasure hunting, it's 20. So,
And average attendance, actual attendance is like 10,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it really is, yeah. It's about 2/3 of the actual enrollment. During the winter months when weather is more of an issue, and flus and colds and stuff like that, if there are two sections of your class going on at the same time and both of you have really low numbers, or let's say Joan's class has high numbers and Megan's has low numbers, you're welcome to combine sections. We kind of leave that up to you to decide to do, but it's totally fine with us. Rather than sitting with two kids, you decide to join the other section. So.
And how do we know if there's another section?
Probably the easiest way is to look at the corkboard outside of your classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a question. So I'm with the child's kids, so the little ones. My son is a rather sensitive boy, so I'm hoping I don't have to attend CRE every single week. But one of my questions was, I'm not going to know every what every parent looks like. So how do I find a parent in service if I need them?
That's a really good question. I would say that typically between the group of us, between Deb and me and the other teachers, we can usually figure it out. It hasn't come up all that much that we have to go find a parent.
Leslie found one.
Yeah. So usually we can figure it out. That brings me to this other question of if you need to get Deb or I'm usually either in my office, roaming the halls here, or by the religious education table. So that's one of the nice things about having at least three adults in the room, so you can send someone to go get one of us. Deb is usually in her office, in the supply room, or just kind of floating around the halls where the classes are. So if you need to come find us, those are places. Oh, the other thing is that, I should mention this out there too, I carry around a pager, and you can go to the childcare room. Let's say you're having a behavioral issue or someone gets hurt or something like that, you can have them page me, and you wait at the childcare room for me, so that or you tell them where I should go, because I don't know who's paid, who needs me. I'll go to the childcare room to find out what's up, and then you'll either be there waiting for me, or you'll have told them where I should go.
So are you going to deal with safety issues in the group after this, or?
Did Deb not talk about like first aid stuff and things like that?
Yeah, she did. Okay, my thought is, I see the tornado signal, or sign, icon.
Yeah.
Are we going to cover like storm, or are there other things where we need to move the children? And would it be a good idea to have a cell phone, just, we all have them, carry them everywhere in our pocket when we're in class?
Not a bad idea to have your cell phone with you. And for one thing, you have, now that I think of this, you have the parents' contact information in your binder. So let's say something happened, you might want to call their cell phone. Hopefully they don't have their ringer on in service, but that might be one way of contacting a parent. We have our own, so the nursery school has their procedures for tornadoes and whatnot, and we have ours. And so far we haven't merged the two. So there will be signs posted in your classroom. They took everything down because they painted the walls. So I'm trying to remember where.
Well, there's a tornado sign here.
Yeah, but that's the nursery schools. So we have our own process of asking people to go out the doors here and up around. And we wanted a definite meeting place, and so we asked that people meet at the entrance to the First Unitarian Society.
This is for like a fire, right now, tornado.
Not a tornado, yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, that would be like for a fight or something. Let's just leave it at that. For the tornadoes, I'm trying to remember what we have on that form, on that sheet. I should know this, right?
Well, hallways, away from the class.
Yes, right. Yes, I think that's exactly what it says. Stand in the hallways, away from the glass, and just line up along the hallway. But that will be on the sign it's posted. Okay?
We also had a question before about if like the parent volunteer didn't show up and there's two of us and a kid needs the parent or the help or something like that, can one of the teachers leave to go get the parent, or does that then create issues because there needs to be two adults in the room at all times? What's the system for that?
No, I think if one of you needs to come get a parent, or I think it's unlikely that you won't have a parent hanging around at this age level, but yes, it would be fine if one person left.
Just wanted to clarify before it came up and then,
So I think that too, like the classrooms are also close to, you can always run to another class and grab another adult.
Right, that's right. Did Deb talk about the 2-adult rule?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she mentioned that there was one, but didn't really go into the detail.
Well, I mean, there's not a whole lot of detail except that it's part of safe congregational policy that there always be 2 adults in the classroom. So that's why if, for instance, Karen, you're teaching with Siggy doesn't show up, and there's no parent helper that day or something like that, you have to let us know so that we can make sure that there's a second adult in here. Yeah. So, and Deb and I are pretty good about checking in to make sure that you guys have what you need. And that, you know, if you were the only adult here and you couldn't leave, that would be a good opportunity to say, help, I need another adult. Okay? All right.